Thanks for joining. Thanks for being on the podcast.
Of course, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you are Kristofer Perry.
Kristofer Perry is my name.
I would describe you as it's tough these days. We can talk about it.
Yeah, it is.
So, when I think of you, I met you initially. You were pursuing the acting dream.
Yep. Yes, sir.
These days, you put a lot of time and effort into creating music.
Yes.
How would you describe that? Like, do you when you introduce yourself to new people or whatever, do you introduce yourself as like a music artist, a rapper, writer, musician? Like, how does that go?
I introduce myself as a music artist. I try not to call myself a musician because I do not play instruments for any of my music.
Your voice.
Yeah.
That's an instrument.
Well, yeah, you're right. Vocally. You're right. I guess you're right. I don't know. I've never thought of it like that. But I don't, so I just say music artist. I'm like, yeah, I'm a music artist. Hip hop. If I have to get specific, I just say hip hop artist. Yeah. So.
Nice. First things first.
Yes, sir.
You and I have known each other for quite some time.
So long. Since we were kids.
Not that long.
No.
I'm trying to think. All right. So one thing, the cool thing about this conversation, I wanted to do a little bit of a venting. It has nothing to do with you. I want to talk about the podcast in general.
Oh, okay.
And what I want this thing to be. And I kind of prefaced it when you, normally when I have somebody on, there's a question. Anything I should know? What's the plan? How do we do this? And the thing that I really want to push for that is kind of, sometimes it doesn't go the way I want it to. Mm-hmm. This podcast is called the Eddie Conversation Podcast.
Yes, sir.
Keyword conversation. So ideally, when I have people on, it's not necessarily an interview. The plan is I want some back and forth, want to engage. Because we're talking for a long time and like a 2+ hour interview is a little bit much. So that's just a thing that I reminded to preface with you. Because sometimes I forget and then it ends up being very...
Of course, yeah. I will do my damnedest to continue combo.
So for you, I'm not to put you on the spot or anything here. Sure. Should be cake. But... the benefit with you is we've had conversations many a time, so it's more like catching up with an old buddy versus tell me about your art and your process, though I do want to know.
Yes, I hope so. That's the only reason I'm here.
You're a funny guy, Kris.
Honestly, thank you.
One other thing I'll mention, and I know you have ventured the YouTube space on occasion and whatnot. I will preface here because I don't normally say it during conversations, but subscribe to the podcast.
Subscribe to the podcast.
Subscribe, like, comment. Hope you enjoy. Moving forward. Actually, more housekeeping really quick, and this is something that you had a part in. Was I announced on my Instagram that my feature It's What's on the Inside got distribution, which is very cool.
Very exciting.
Lots of details on that. In the post, I didn't specifically say when it was coming out, but I'll say it now. April 2nd.
What? That's awesome, dude.
And
that's great.
Yeah, you came out to support on a day that we needed some background people for a party scene. And spoilers, I'm just kidding. So...
That's awesome.
It's been great. So that's that. More to come on that, but it's the first time I'm actually, because people have been asking about it for a while. It's been a long time in the works. So
that's awesome, dude. That's cool. I'm excited. That was one of the first gigs I did moving out in LA was being an extra on your movie. So I'm really excited. It's got a little place in my heart.
That's right. So you were pretty new out here at the time.
I was.
So was I.
So were you. Yeah, we both were.
All right. Cool. So enough about me. Let's talk about Kristofer Perry.
Let's do it.
Do you prefer Kristofer? That's everybody's wondering.
I prefer unguided. That's what I prefer.
Thank you. Thank you for reminding me.
Yes.
Unguided.
I actually like when I introduce myself to people. I'm unguided. I don't even say Kris. And Kris is
great.
Is no
it's
longer.
Great.
Yeah.
I totally slipped.
Unless you're a follower of mine, then you're like, I'm like, what's up? Is Kris? But like, other than that, it's like
Unguided. You spell it. This is pop quiz. Don't tell me. UNGUYD3D.
That's it.
So you're a guy.
I'm a guy.
And I don't know if 3 has any specific meaning. It's just it worked good as an E.
Yeah, it was literally when I came up with the spelling of it. It literally, I was like, oh, I'm trying to be cool and do the whole text talk thing and the texting lingo, and the 3 when I came up with unguided was just really hot. 3 is an E, so I just was like D3D that's it. And it actually the D3D actually plays a really big role in my brand. So it's in my logo. All of my songs I replace E's with 3. Like it's the 3 has been coming.
Yeah, you leaned into it.
Yeah, it's so big in my brand right now.
Sweet. So let's talk about that.
Yes, sir.
Brand. What does that mean to you?
Model dairy.
It's a great example of a brand.
A brand for an artist, I think, is like something that represents you. An individual brand, I should say, represents you, who you are, what people can expect when they come to support you. What they're supporting, like the brand is.
Well, you kind of.
Is what?
Well, you kind of go on. Well, you're saying it's who you are.
Yeah,
it's
the brand is you. You are the brand.
How is it? How do you describe your brand?
My brand.
3 words.
3 words. Oh, I got you. Diverse. True. Immersive. Diverse, true, and loving. Motivational. That's it. Motivational.
Okay, great.
Diverse, true, motivational.
Yeah, because you recently. Okay. I don't know. There's a lot of places we can go with that. I don't know.
I could use a lot more than 5 words. 3 words.
So let's do that. I guess, being that I've observed from a distance, you create your music and continue to stay consistent with making stuff and putting stuff out and challenging yourself in different ways, I'm sure. How has Unguided evolved from the conception to who Unguided is today, or how's that for you?
So basically, long story short, when I started,
no, we got time.
It's like, no, we got 3 hours. Let's do. All right. You asked for it. No. When I started, I've always liked music. I've always loved music. Music's always been a huge part of my life. I've been in and out of bands, in and out of trios, singing groups. Like, I've always been a part of music, but nothing ever worked out. So I started making music, hip hop music, rap music, specifically because I was tired of other people, like, deciding the fate of the music. So I was like, I'm going to take the music into my hands and do it myself, right? In which I mix and master, I engineer all of my own music. I don't produce, but I record at my home. I record in my own studio. I mix and master, engineer all of my own stuff. So I don't rely on studios. I don't rely on engineer professionals. You know what I mean?
So isn't that producing, though? Like, you say you don't produce.
No. I actually made that mistake, and I got yelled at by a producer.
Okay.
Producing is beat making. Producing is producing, very basically, producing is the beat. A lot of people would argue that rappers sample other beats and throw them together to make a beat, and that's not necessarily producing, but just the very basic producing is beat making, which I do not do. I do not make beats. I engineer vocals. Yes.
Because I guess we were talking about it a little bit before, just to take an aside, was if Mike Shinoda, who I'm a big fan of from Linkin Park, he's been producing indie artist stuff. So hypothetically speaking, like I watched one of his videos that I sent to you that you said you check out at some point.
Yeah.
The thing that when I watched that, he said he's, picking up smaller indie artists off like Instagram and stuff. And from what I was watching, he would communicate with the artist. They would send him kind of where it's at right now, and he would send back some notes. He'd tweak some stuff, and then he'd kind of go in and shape it or add his producing. Like but that's not like I don't think he's making a beat. I don't know what he's doing.
Yeah.
But is that what he's doing?
Okay. Most producers can engineer. Most engineers, well, not most engineers, but just because you engineer doesn't mean you produce. So producing, you can produce vocals. I guess producing can be seen as a type of vocal engineering, but like mixing and mastering, at least, granted, I'm not professional by any means, so I don't know what the professional industry, but in my amateur industry that I work in,
the
indie industry, I have never known a producer to be somebody other than a beat maker. Like I said, I'm not saying that they can't engineer. I know a lot of producers that engineer vocals as well. But like I said, I made a mistake when I was younger of calling myself a producer, and I got trashed on for it. Like, you're not a producer. You do not make the beats. I am the producer. Yeah. You are the vocal artist. You know what I mean? Whoa. So it was. I learned that one really hard.
Because I guess like I was thinking about film in the way was because producer could mean a wide variety of things. Right. So I kind of assumed it was like that because a producer in film could be like involved creatively with talking back and forth with the director and trying to help guide the film in certain ways. This is what we need, blah, blah, blah. So I figured music could be a similar way where Mike Shinoda could sit with you and talk about what the intention is and help pull the best out of it. And
that sounds accurate. That might be it. It's like I said, in my industry.
From your experience.
From my experience, it's.
Okay.
That's not how it is. Because I don't, I also don't reach out to people to help guide my music. I'm, you know what I mean?
You are unguided.
I am unguided. Yeah. So, I don't,
Sorry. All right.
It's okay.
Okay. So that was just the producer thing. I was curious. All right.
And if I'm wrong, I apologize. Hit my DMs and let me know. But from my experience, producer is a beat maker, and there are other forms of producers, but like mainly it's a beat maker. It's not like a vocal.
Sure.
So, yeah.
So continuing on.
So, I took up rapping because I wasn't a singer, and I was like, well, I could rap. I could always rap. I got into rap at a fairly old age, actually. I got into rap when I was probably a preteen, teenager, which I'm only 26 now, so that's why I say like old age. You know what I mean? Like I didn't grow up on rap. I wasn't allowed to listen to rap when I was a kid.
Okay.
So I got into it in my teens, and I just ended up falling in love with it, and I got really good at rapping. Like I could rap like Lil Wayne, Eminem, all over the spectrum. And I was like, well, I'm tired of letting other people dictate where music goes in my life, so I want to do it myself. So that's how I picked it up. Okay, so that's the base. Mm-hmm. When I started, I was super shy about it. I was super unsure about myself. I was just doing it to be an engineer. I just wanted to be an engineer, and I was like, what's the best way to do it than work on my own vocals? And then I just kind of fell in love with making music. And then I was like, okay. When I moved out here specifically is when I was like, all right, I'm going to take it seriously. So I started taking it a little bit more seriously. And now it's, I release on a monthly basis. I release new music every single month. So there's always content coming from me. And I'm very, I want to help because look at me. You look at me and you're not like, this guy's a rapper. You know what I mean? Like when people assume I make music, they're like, oh, you're a country artist. Yeah, that's what I get all the time. You're a country artist. And I'm like, all right, that's cool. Like, I'm honored. I wish I was a country artist. I wish I could sing like that, but I can't. So, but I'm like, I want to motivate people that are like, oh, no, that's not me. I can't do that. Because I always wanted to be a music artist. And I always thought it'd be tight to be a rapper. I just was like, nah, I can't do that. Mm-hmm. So, like, my brand now, I'm very heavily motivational. I love motivating. I love just kind of like sparking that flame under people and just being like, you can do this. It is possible. Look at me. Now go and do it. So that's my brand, is like, just believe in yourself. You're not perfect. Nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect. I've been doing this for 3 years and I think I make bangers, but I'm not perfect. There's stuff in there. Like, I have music friends that I talk to all the time that engineer their own music, produce their own music. You know, they don't rely on other people. They do exactly what I'm doing. And we always go back and forth like, oh, well, the reverb on this is a little too high. The reverb on this is too low. You know, I hear the peaking. So I'm not perfect, but I focus on continuing. I focus on doing it because I'm a firm believer that talent has no play in this industry at all. It's dedication. It's perseverance. It's pushing to outlast other people. So, and I just want to kind of convey that in my brand. And so that's kind of where my brand's at right now. Entertainment and motivation.
It's great.
I'm guided.
That's great.
Trademarks.
great plug there.
Thanks.
I like it.
Thanks.
Very interesting. There's a lot I want to ask with that. All right. I want to start with what does talent mean if it means nothing? Like, what is talent? Like, what is it good for? Or what is it? Or, like, when you said that talent's not going to be the determining factor that gets you the success, whatever that may mean. It's, you know, I'm sure different for everybody.
Right.
But what part does it play from your perspective if it's not that?
Right. I think I understand. Okay, so I just want to say, like, I'm not saying, like, having talent is any lesser of a value than it. Having talent will push you forward, but it'll only push you forward so much. If you're not consistent, if you don't work, if you don't grind, if you don't hustle, if you don't show the world that you're here to stay, nobody will care about your talent. So many people out there have talent that are constantly showing their talent. They're more interesting because they're doing it more, right? So, like, for instance, I would argue when I started, I didn't have any talent. I was very monotoned. I was very shy. Like, I could have given up. I probably should have given up and whatever, moved on with my life. But now I would argue I have talent and I've evolved my talent. I've grown into my talent. Okay. But if I didn't market my music, if I didn't look for outlets to get seen, if you know what I mean, like, if I didn't push, my talent would be sitting here unnoticed. So I would say talent plays the role in pushing you once you're noticed, but it won't necessarily get you noticed. I don't know if that makes sense. I'm coming from like a marketing standpoint. So I've recently, I don't know if you know this, I've actually recently been getting into music marketing. Okay. I run a lot of ads on music to test out like what's better chorus, verse, test out good songs, bad songs, test out audiences. You know, like, I've been really getting into music marketing. And I've noticed a lot of change in my fan base, a lot of growth in my fan base since I have taken the time to learn how to push my music in front of other people. Which I've had talent probably for a year. I've been really good at making music. You know what I mean? Like, good enough to where I could consider have talent. Sure.
Your confidence is there on what you're putting out. Yeah.
Right. But and talent's really good as a base, because obviously if you don't have talent, it's going to be that much harder. But I think with how many people make content, not even music, just in general, how many people make content? YouTubers, music artists, actors, you know, like short film directors, like writers, like
TikTok.
Everybody, TikTokers. with how many people do it, it's very, like, your talent could be drowned out by somebody who has, like, if you've got 5 people that support your talent, but then there's a TikToker that have 100 people that support their whatever you want to call it, you're going to lose.
Sure,
you know what I mean?
And okay.
So I don't know if that makes sense. Hopefully.
I know what you're saying.
I'm trying to.
Okay, one thought that I had was it reminds me very much of what somebody told me, because I feel similarly about myself in some aspects, where you mentioned when you first started, you would argue that you had no talent.
Yeah, that's right.
Sure, of course you would argue that. I think about myself with filmmaking and directing on how it's the confidence build is more of how I see it. You the more you do, the more experience you have, the more you've done, the more you can look back on and tweak on and all that kind of stuff. And creativity in some capacity is a craft like anything else, where if you want to get good at carving, carving. What do people do when you?
I think that's a perfect word, carving.
I was gonna say literally carving, like a block of wood into like a chair or something. Like people, there's skill in the craft of everything. So just because I think creativity is a similar space 100%. Where you're writing and you're curating of the music, because I know when I first moved to LA and I shared the short film Schrodinger's Nostalgia that you are a lead in. we screened that at a Night of Shorts night, hosted by a friend of the podcast, Eric Toms. I remember him specifically telling me as I was releasing more stuff, because we made that in Reno before we moved. Right. So as I was making more stuff and putting more stuff out, I think he reached out at one point and seen I don't know, somebody reached out. I think it was Eric, where he commented on, you're treating this like a craft. I can see you getting better with each thing. And I'm like, well, that was the plan all along, because I know I'm not going to be. I feel I don't know. I feel like there's still plenty to learn, and there's always going to be learning.
Always.
So
you could be the best in the world, and you still have stuff to learn. 100%. There always always room for improvement.
Yes. Always. So no, that kind of, it was nice to get that external recognition of I see what you're doing. And I can see the progress, and that kind of feels good. So I can have the same thought of I had no idea what I was doing back then. I'm just throwing it together and having fun, and going from there, which sounds similar to that.
No, I think and that's that's it. We all start somewhere. You know what I mean? We all start somewhere. And I keep a lot of people in the music industry, when they start and their stuff is trash, it's bad, they'll remove it. They're ashamed of it. Sure. You know what I mean? I keep all mine up. Yeah, they're not good. You go and listen, pardon me, you go and listen to my very first release, and you listen to my most recent release, you'll hear the difference. Not only in the performance, in the vocals, but the engineering, the effects, all of it. The layers of my music, I used to not do any layers. Now I have layers all over the place, so it's more, as my friend Tanner would say, ear candy. You know what I mean? And but I'm not afraid of it. I'm fully aware that people that go to my Spotify are now going to hear, 7 or 8 songs that are just complete trash, and that might deter them away from following and being a fan. But I'm like, that was me. That was my music when I started.
Sure, I think.
But now look at me. So it's that motivational art.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Seeing the growth of an artist, I think, is a pivotal part of connecting with them. I had a thought. I lost it. Continue.
Okay.
I remember what it was.
Okay.
So you mentioned there was a pivotal. Was it a specific moment that you can look back on and think about that was, like you said, you should have quit? you acknowledge, for whatever reason, that you think maybe you should have quit. So I don't know what that means, but why did you not? And what was
First of all,
your mind? Yeah.
First of all, I'm just gonna pause. I'm gonna say this right now. I was gonna say this way earlier, and I didn't because I didn't need it. I'm gonna cuss. I asked Eddie. I asked him if I could. He said it was fine.
That's fine.
I'm just letting you know. Potty mouth.
So classic disclaimer, I guess, would be if you're listening in the car with your kids. Maybe hold off.
Have them do earmuffs because
Kris likes to get. Your music has the E on there, right? Is that how it works?
Most of my music, but I try not to cuss in my music, to be honest. Which is funny because I definitely do cuss a lot in person, but I try not to. I try not to cuss a lot. That actually, I have a lot of songs that do cuss, but I try not to. So take that with a grain of salt. Anyway, what I was saying is, first of all, Mama didn't raise no bitch. I don't quit. Second of all, all right, that's what I had to say. Second of all, we all have that thought. We all have that thought of, oh, I should quit. And this kind of like, and if you don't, you're a god at whatever you do, because I swear to God, like, there are so many people in this world that just content create. Like, the chances of us making it are slim to none, and I realize that wholeheartedly. But like I said, it's not talent that gets you famous. It is perseverance. It is determination.
Grit.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's that simple. You know what I mean? So I had that thought of, like, I made a couple of songs, and like I think the first song I ever made, I was like 16, like when I first dove into rap. Different name. I was not Unguided. I was a completely different person as an artist. And I released a song, a couple people liked it, and then a really good friend of mine was like told me I should quit. He's like, dude, it's horrible. Like, he was like, I'm just being real with you. This is horrible. I don't want to be that friend that's like, you know, leading you on. Like, it is trash. Don't be an artist. Like, just don't. And that like really affected me. You know what I mean? Because he was a really good friend of mine, and I thought it was the best thing I'd ever done. And it was like the first song I ever made. It was like about a heartbreak. So of course I was like really.
You're really connected. Yeah.
I was really connected to it. And the girl that I wrote it about fucking loved it. So it was like, I was like, yeah.
So,
anyway.
Mission accomplished in my
Yeah, right. So that really kind of deterred me away from making music for a while. But then I got back into it, and I was like, you know what? Like, why? Like, I know. Like, I'm doing this all by myself. I'm not paying a professional to do it. Like, of course it sucks, but I'll get better. You know what I mean? And it got to a point to where, like, I released a couple more songs that were just as bad. But I was just like...
From whose perspective?
From today me perspective. From right now, sitting in this chair on your podcast, I'm looking back, and the quality of the songs were the same.
Well, the quality of a song and the song being bad are different things. Like the technical aspects of going into making a project. Like when I look back on my old stuff, I guess maybe it's a different outlook. Like I don't look back and say like that was bad. I'm like, dang, I've learned a lot since then.
Improvements.
And in the moment, I can look back and think about like how much fun that was and all that kind of stuff. And
that's the thing. I had fun doing it. Whether I think it was a bad song, yes or no. I had fun, and that's really what matters, is having fun and just enjoying your life, because it's your life. You know what I mean? Who cares what people want, what people think? It's your life. You do what you want. But no, in my perspective, as an artist, I look back, I don't listen to my first 2 or 3 songs because I don't like them. I don't think they were good.
Sure.
So, and I'm a big advocate of being your biggest fan. Like I love my music.
Okay.
I listen to my music more than anybody else, and I love it.
I feel
you know what I mean? So, I'm a big advocate on being your biggest fan. So, and I don't listen to those songs.
Being your own biggest fan.
Being my own biggest fan. I don't listen to them because I don't like them. They're not good. Mm-hmm. The quality, the flow, like it's just
sure.
You know, like that's what I'm saying. Like that there was no talent there. Like that's what I'm saying. Like I should have.
I think you're being a little bit harsh.
Maybe I am. Tough love, baby. Tough love.
Well, because there's projects that I've done. There's only a handful, like similar to you. It's like I watch my own stuff not all the time, but I do enjoy going back and rewatching some of my old stuff. Yeah. And there are some projects that I'm like, I'm not watching that. Yeah. I'm not watching that. Yeah. Cringe.
Yeah, exactly. And it's okay. Like I don't, you know what I mean? Like I might be being hard on myself, but I'm just being real. Like that's how I feel. That's how I feel, man. Like I just think those songs are bad, and I'm not going to remove them because, like I said, I want to show people like, hey, here's my arc, here's what I've done, and myself. I want to continue, yeah. Because I mean, even now, like I put out songs that I'm like, was that the right call? Like that effect, that vocal tone. You know what I mean? I do that all the time, but then I'm like, but look at this compared to that. Mm-hmm. You know, and it keeps me going. It motivates myself. I end up self-motivating without even knowing it. But no, and that's, going back to the question, like I put out a couple of songs in succession that I was just like I was proud of at the time. I was very proud of, but they weren't getting recognition. You know what I mean? And I think that's a really hard, like you just said, it's nice when people reach out to you and say, hey, I see the improvements. I see what you're doing. Like you're doing a good job. Keep it up. Like that feels so good when people do that to you, especially when you're unknown, like nobody knows who you are. You got a couple of followers, a couple of people,
but
then they're like,
because you can feel like nobody's watching or listening.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But then it's like when that person reaches out and you're like, wow, like somebody's actually paying attention, and I think that like that's what it was. This is like I was, like I said, originally when I started, I didn't do it to be an artist. I was just doing it, trying to be a better vocal engineer. I had a couple friends that were rappers, a couple friends that were singers, and I wanted to help them. So the main reason I started was to help them as an engineer. I offered my services. I worked with a couple people in a studio, working with their stuff. And then I just practiced on my own vocals. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, well, what if I release this music? Like I have so many songs I have never released, I'm never going to release, that I strictly used for practice, you know what I mean? But I was like, well, what if I take some of these and release them, see what happens, And then I just fell in love with the process of making music. Mm-hmm. And I still help other people. Like, don't get me wrong, I have people reach out to me all the time for like engineering their stuff. But it's like I just fell in love with making my own music, making my own art, taking my own heartbreak, my own life lessons and putting them into music that hopefully can, inspire other people, motivate other people, relate with other people. But like, yeah, there was definitely a point in my life where I was like, yeah, I should stop making my own music. I wasn't going to quit engineering because I, felt like I was good at engineering. But I was like, yeah, I'm going to stop making my own music. Not getting traction. I don't know why I released it. It's like that thought. We all have it.
Self-doubt.
Yeah, self-doubt.
Creeps in.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know, but I'm glad I didn't.
Yeah, because I mean, from sitting in the chair right now talking to you, and you mentioned that in the back of your mind there was always that want to be a rapper or rap. Yeah. So it makes me really happy to be like, he did it and he tried it, and like that's something that most people even talk themselves out of before even getting to that point.
Right.
So it's like, I've already done it, I put some stuff out. You're already that far, so
might as well keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's cool because it's funny, I was actually I was hanging out with a buddy last night on a Discord chat, and he is also a rapper. And we were drinking, so things were a little emotional. But he was like, dude, we're rappers. And I'm like, yeah, man, I know. Like, I know we are. What's your point? He's like, nah, man, it's just like, you know how cool it is to say that? Like, you and I are rappers, bro. And I was like, damn. I was like, you're right, dude. That is kind of cool to say. And he was like, he brought it up. He's like, when I was a kid, man, I always wanted to be a rapper, and I never thought I'd be one. And I was like, me too. And it's just like, it's so cool that say I'm a rapper. That's something I wanted to do. And I'm an entertainer in general, but I never in a million years thought that I'd be a rapper. Never thought that I would make hip hop music. Never thought, that I would keep up with it. And it's like, it's cool to look back and be like, you did that. You wanted to, and you did. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I'm just, if you want to do something, do it. You don't know what's going to happen unless you try. And if you keep going for it, eventually something's going to happen. You know what I mean? I've been doing it 3 years, and I'm just now seeing progression. I'm just now seeing the fruits of my labor. You know what I mean? I'm starting to make a little bit of money on streaming. I'm starting to get to the point to where, I'm almost, it's not like a crazy amount of followers or anything by any means, but I'm almost at 1,000 followers on Instagram, which I've been trying to get for 5 years. And I'm finally every day getting new followers. I'm almost at 1,000. And that's such a threshold for me. I'm so ready for that 1,000 push, man. I'm so ready for it. My Spotify numbers are thousands of listeners monthly. Sure. You know what I mean? 3 years, and I'm just now seeing the growth. So it's just one of those, like, you want to do it, keep doing it, be passionate about it, and eventually you'll get somewhere with it.
Yeah, I think that's a good reminder for sure. Because I know, like, this is a moment in time for a lot of people in which a lot of people have a hard time. I'm not sure if it's whether or not to find out what it is they want to do, or to know what they want to do and then convince themselves that they should go for it. Because oftentimes, I don't know. It's. I think we've all been. I don't know.
Most pardon me. Most people don't figure out what they want to do in life until they're in their late 30s. So the fact that
where are you pulling that from?
Out of my ass. It just sounded right, so I'm going to say it.
Sure.
No, I've actually heard that statistic. I have nothing to back it up, but I have heard that statistic that most, like, if you take 100 people,
you're taking the average,
different ages,
sure.
Average, different ages, you ask, most of those 100 people are going to be over their mid to late 30s.
Yeah.
Everybody under is going to be like, I have no idea what I want. I have no idea what I want. So the fact that you and I, being the ages we are, know what we want in life is bizarre, because it's not a statistical average.
That's
a
bummer.
Yeah, it is. Now that I speak it out loud.
I was thinking about in terms of, like, your moment with almost deciding not to go forward with it. You're having those kind of self-doubts, or like, nothing's coming of it, why do it? I don't know, it was making me think about a time when it was early on in my filmmaking venture in Reno, and I know when I first jumped into film, you were there pretty early on in the beginning with the Same But Different series.
Yes.
I had the idea. My roomie at the time, Nora, I was talking about, like, I want to do film. I wanted to be an actor at the time, so I was like, I want to produce my own stuff and just make stuff so I can act in it.
Yeah.
And then the commitment was, I'm going to do 10 episodes of this web series. And I forget which episode you popped in first. Was it 4, 3? I don't know.
I was in a couple.
You were in a couple. But regardless, I think it might have been 2013 or 2014 when that started. And I did 9 episodes. I remember you were a big part of number 9. Yeah, that was a good one.
That's my favorite episode. I love it.
The clowning. But for episode 10, that was supposed to be my, like, big Avengers moment where, like, everybody comes together. It was like a 20-page script. It was really long, and I didn't know the concept of that at the time. And I remember I was, like, losing actors left and right. Some were moving to LA. Some were like, I'm like, this is difficult, and I'm scared, and I don't know if I can do this. But I know I can do it. I just have to keep pushing. I've got a deadline to hit. We're not going to cancel. I'm not going to push. I'm going to find an actor, or whatever the case was. But I think it was after, like, I don't remember the specific moment. I think me and my girlfriend at the time had just, like, watched a movie at the theater, and we're, like, driving home. I think I had, like, a breakdown. Like, I think I just started crying out of nowhere. And it was a good time.
Yeah, sounds like it.
And I think somewhere around that point, she was kind of telling me, like, this isn't going to happen. You have to push.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can do it. Yeah. And but it was like you said, like, your close friend that just wanted to tell you what they thought was the reality of the situation. And I just remember her saying, like, basically, you can't do this.
Yeah, that's the worst.
And
that's the worst.
But it was nice to hear it, because, of course, I already had those thoughts myself. So it's not like new news.
Yeah, but
I'm just like, all right, you're saying it, but I've already convinced myself that I can do it. I'm going to tell you the same thing I told myself. So it's kind of nice to stick with it regardless.
Yes, sir. That's good.
And get it done. And you were part of the finale too. That was a nice moment.
That was cool. That wasn't my best acting, but it was all right.
It was crazy.
It was,
because there's the classic with early filmmaking stuff is there's always way too many actors on screen and way too much to coordinate, and like there's no crew.
No crew. The crew are the actors when they're not on scene.
Yeah. So it was, but I remember, there was moments, I think you told me about it before, like you kind of wish we had another take for it.
Oh yeah, dude, it was bad. I even, like, to this day, I'll watch it, and then when I get to my part, I'm like, God damn. Like, that was not my finest moment.
Yeah, for context, all you had to do...
Literally, all I had to do was walk into the garage and arrest the big bad and say, like, 2 lines and leave. And that was it, and I fluffed it up bad. Like, I was overhamming it. Like, way too bad. It was...
Yeah, because the garage door opens, you have the 2 agents.
Yeah.
And then you go in, you handcuff her, and you have your lines, but she threw some improv at you too, as she does, and that's what kind of threw you, I think.
Yeah.
Because shout out to Yvonne Kezios, I think is how you pronounce it, but yeah. Good times.
It was fun. It was fun to say the least. It was fun.
But I think we just did 1 take, and I was like, well,
that was it. Like, all right, bye, Kris. I was
too much. Yeah, but anyway, that made me think of that moment in my journey where I haven't had that moment again since. Like, that was a huge one.
Yeah.
And the nice thing is, like, knowing that you've gotten through it only makes things slightly bit easier when you have that feeling again on the next one. You're like, can I do this? Yeah. Well, I've done it before, I guess. Gosh darn it.
Yeah, you learn from your mistakes. You know what I mean? So it's like if the first time you did that.
Or from your successes.
Or you both. You both. Your failures and your successes. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, I think if you ever to do something like that again, like, you're like, you can reflect on it. Like, okay, what did I do last time that made me so stressed? What did I do last time that broke me down? All right, don't let it happen again. You know what I mean? Like, find out ways that I can improve my mental for taking on this project. You learn. You know what I mean? Yeah,
it's a classic because there's no avoiding that fear.
No.
Because it's the classic quote, right? It's like, if you're not experiencing that fear, you're not challenging yourself. You're not venturing into something new. Right. So it's having to constantly face that it's quite the life.
Yeah. It's it's something. I don't want to say you never get over it, you never get past it, but it's something that you just, eventually you just take it with a grain of salt and you just go with it. You know what I mean? Like, you're always going to feel it. It's never going to go away, but eventually it's easier to deal with because you're just so used to, like, grinding past it.
Yeah. So speaking of grinding, what's I don't know, what's the latest thing you put on yourself that is kind of lives in that realm? Is there anything currently you're pushing for that's kind of scaring you a bit or anything?
So I'm not necessarily scared, but something that I am working towards that I have doubts about. My 2021 goals, basically.
Why do you air quotes that?
Yeah, because, like, New Year's, everyone's like, New Year, new me. It's not necessarily like, because they're like, starting January 1st, 2021, this is what I'm doing.
Okay.
Right, so it's like, I'm not, like, trying to lose weight. Lord knows I should, but I'm not. What I'm trying to do is, as of the 1st, I officially took 1 more day off at my job. I was working 6 days a week over at the pizzeria, and I couldn't do it anymore. I felt like I didn't have enough time for myself, let alone enough time for my content. I still want to do way too many things for the little amount of time I have in my apartment. So I told my bosses 6 months ago, hey, January 1st, I'm officially 2 days off. That's like, I can't do 6 days.
How'd they take that? Was that easy?
They were fine. It was, I gave them an ample amount of time.
Right, but no, was it 6 days because Or I don't know. I just wasn't sure on.
Not to toot my own horn, but I'm a pretty damn good worker, and we're a very small crew, and they knew that I was willing to work 6 days a week for them, so they did it. Now, I mean, A, in LA, it's expensive, so obviously I'll take all the money I can get, but B, like I said, we were a small crew, and I'm one of the best, not to ruffle any feathers, I'm one of the best workers at the pizzeria, and I would fight to the death with that statement. So, and they knew it. They know it. And so, I told them I would do it, and they put that to their advantage. Cool.
Sure.
And so when I told them, I gave them, like I said, I gave them like 4 months advance. Notice I was like, hey, 2021, I'm out here for a reason. I got to do something.
So now you find yourself with a whole extra day.
Extra day, yeah. Now my plans are by December, I would like to take more time off from my work and focus more on my content. I'm starting to get more into like YouTube, you know what I mean? Now that I have an extra day, I'm starting to do a little bit of YouTube content, song breakdowns. I have some like mini series ideas that focus around music creating, which I'm kind of revamping my YouTube because I used to do like daily stuff and it was just like all random.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So now it's like I'm strictly focusing on music content, whether it's creating, whether it's lyric videos, music videos, song breakdowns, whatever. It's all music related somehow. So I'm trying to do more of that, and I'm hoping by December, the end of this year, I can take more. I can get enough support from my fans, my followers, to take more time off from the pizzeria, so I can put even more of my time into content creating. So basically, what I'm trying to say is like I've already gotten to a point to where I've made a small little shift to my full-time entertaining, and I want to make another shift at the end of the year closer, which I like just financial support.
Sure.
Stuff. I'm not trying to.
So you were able at the 6 days. You were already able to. You were still. I was gonna say producing music, but I don't know what the word would be.
Careful, you'll get yelled at.
You're still making. Yeah. You're still finding a way to put out musical content.
Yeah.
With just the 1 day off and going home at night or whatever. So with the extra day, I'd like, because I think I commented on your YouTube video.
Yeah.
Because I dug it.
Thanks.
And I was like, cool.
That was the extended version, huh? Did you watch the extended version?
No.
The 20-minute
version? Yeah, I watched
that was the extended. Okay, I felt 20 minutes was too long, so I cut it down to a shorter version for 10 minutes. That was the first one that released. That's the one I was promoting on my Instagram. It's like basically, it's obviously the same thing, just not as long. I cut out a lot of shit because I was like, this isn't important.
I think I watched the full thing.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I don't know. So I like, okay, so with the extra day, you've been able to tackle YouTube and just get more time into on the stuff you're probably already doing. Okay, cool.
Yeah. I mean, you nailed it right on the top, man. That was it. Gives me more time to work on more things. Like I love entertaining as a whole. Like I'm a music artist. But I love entertaining. I love content creating. You know what I mean? So I would love to get back into the YouTube scene. I would love to, like, I still want to be an actor. I love it. Like acting. I love acting. Okay, I have a degree in theater.
About that.
Yeah, no. We'll get to that later. But right now, like, music is definitely the focus, but I love entertaining in general. If I can put a smile on somebody's face from entertaining, I don't care what the piece of content is, whether it's music, whether it's a short film, whether it's a gaming video, like whatever it is, I love entertaining. So that's what my more focus is, just make more content, focus a little bit more on pushing the music and just switch over.
Okay, let's talk about the acting.
Let's do it.
Kristofer Perry. The actor. Where does that currently live in your priority list with life right now? What's that look like moving forward?
So it's currently, I love acting, like I literally just said. It is a huge passion of mine. I have a degree in theater. I went to school for acting. And I love it dearly. And every opportunity I get to jump on it, I take it. But it has, especially with COVID, especially with all the things that have been going on in the world, it has been really hard to be an actor. And I'm not saying quit, I'm not saying give up, but what I'm saying is I found a way to continuously entertain without having to be an actor. And I think that was kind of the moment, like I said, when I moved out here is when I started taking it seriously, and that was kind of the moment I triggered the, hey, let's be a musical artist instead of an actor. Because especially, and I say this and I know how some people are going to react. Being in LA, it's really hard to be an actor. It's really hard to be an actor.
How are people going to react to that? Everybody knows.
Everybody knows it, but I know some people. I'm not trying to say being an
actor is
I'm
one
not
of the...
trying to say get the fuck out. All I'm saying is it's really, really hard to be an actor out here, and that was coming from a small little town where I was one of the most looked up to actors. Coming out to LA where nobody gives a fuck about me, it's like it's one of those things where it's just. It kind of like in my head, I had to flip the switch. I was like, what can I do on my own time where I am the boss of what I do? I control what I put out when I put out without anybody else's approval. That was kind of the switch. And that's when I was like, all right, let's be an artist. Let's be a music artist. I actually want to. I'm not going to yet because I want to make sure I have some kind of budget for it. But one of my plans for future when I start getting a little bit more support behind my music is I want to put out music videos that are, and I think I even brought this up to you at one point, I want to bring up scripted like music videos that are more on the short film side of things. So it's like whenever I release a music video, it's not just me rapping in front of a camera looking dope. You know what I mean? Like I want to actually release videos that are like it looks like a small little movie. You know what I mean?
where you're acting
right
as a character via yourself in the story representing the song that you're makes total sense.
And I would love to do that because that would put both of my passions in the same place. So yeah, it's just, it's like I said, I take every opportunity I can to be an actor because I love it dearly. But I mentally was just like, it would be easier for me if I focused on music because then I can control when I'm creating, when I am performing, instead of letting a director decide, instead of letting a casting agency decide. You know what I mean? So that was kind of the switch for me. Still do it. Still want to do it, and I'm going to in the future. Like once things take off for me, when I am my own independent artist, my own independent entertainer, I am going to find a road down the path that allows me to get back into acting into a more serious light. But as of right now, it's just kind of like I'm no longer paying my backstage sub. You know what I mean? I let that run out because I noticed like I paid for it, and then the first couple of months I worked pretty hard for it, and then I had this switch, and the rest of the year went to shit. I never applied for anything because I was like, I'm just going to focus on music. So,
yeah. Because I mean, that's the tough part with having multiple passions. Of course, is like, of course, there's only so much time in the day, and if you're able to fulfill that creative want via one way versus another, I don't see anything wrong with being like, I'm making music now, and if acting comes up, cool, like that could even become second to your priority. Like I really like the idea of it comes in handy when you're making the music videos and you're like, I know how to act. Great. Put me.
I don't need to cast anybody.
Do it.
I'll play both parts. Male and female. Shit.
We're going a little far there. Your range, showing off your range.
Yes, sir.
Oh, man, you threw me off.
Sorry.
Okay, but the issue there, because I could see being that LA is so difficult to make it in, be it in front of the camera, I think is even harder than behind the camera with like my freelance work, where when you have multiple passions, people start knowing you as that one thing, and you're like, no, I actually do love acting as well. I can do that just as great. You don't have to think I'm a subpar actor just because I'm making music, or vice versa. So that's another tough hurdle, I'm sure too, where
Yeah, I feel like, honestly, like obviously if you've known me for a while, like if you're a friend of mine from, back in the day.
I am.
You know that I'm an actor. You know that that's something I originally, like that was what.
That's what brought you here.
Right. That's what brought me here, but that's also that's what triggered my creative side. You know what I mean? Like I've always wanted to be an actor, but like it was not until high school when I got into theater and I was like, yo, I could actually do this. Like I want to, like I'm not just gonna want to do it, I'm going to do it. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of what triggered the push. And I feel like if it weren't for that, like I wouldn't be making music today, because like I would want to make music, but I wouldn't have the drive to do it. But I had the drive to act, so I was like, I might as well push music too. So that's kind of what triggered the creative side of me in general, I would say. So yeah, it's a huge passion of mine, and one day we'll get back to it. But a lot of my followers don't know I'm an actor unless I post something about it. Like I think I don't know, maybe like 7-8 months ago, I posted a little clip from something and I was like, hey guys, look, I can act too. Like I just made it very obvious to my followers, like, hey, I'm also an actor. But it's like, that's just not what that knowledge isn't something I'm pushing for right now. Mm-hmm. So it's just, if you know, that's awesome. I appreciate you. I love you. But
can you fill people in on the road to Los Angeles and on what that was like, to kind of give people perspective on what, because there's one thing about making the move, there's another thing about why you made the move and then you made the switch. Like I think it kind of helps give folk a nice like this guy's working, this guy means business. Like I think that says a lot.
Yeah. Okay. I'll be completely honest.
Have you not been so far?
No, I've been lying this whole time. My name isn't really Kris or Unguided. No. But a little backstory, I was supposed to move to LA in 2016. Like originally, so my best friend and I met in my theater class my sophomore year of high school, my best friend Andrew. Mm-hmm. And him and I had, in the rest of our high school career, we had these dreams of moving to LA and being big artists, like big actors. We were going to be the next big names or whatever, right? Like everybody does. And in 2016, we had finally, and granted, I graduated in 2012. I graduated high school in 2012. Mm. So after I graduated college, him and I had finally, and he was a year behind me, so I had to wait for him too. So once we both graduated college, in 2016, we were finally like, all right, we're going to do it. Let's move. We've been planning this for 10 years. Like, we're going to do it. Maybe not 10 years. Bad math. Anyway.
It felt like 10 years.
Felt like forever. And so we came out. We originally were supposed to move to Rancho Cucamonga. We made a trip out. We, scouted locations. We applied for a couple of spots. It ended up falling through because our third roommate, there was credit issues, and so it just didn't go through. So that was the original plan, was to move out to Rancho in 2016 and, commute to LA whenever we needed to for auditions. Fell through, and I found myself stuck in Reno. Reno's where I'm from. Reno, Nevada, 775. Shout out No Town.
Because you were ready. You had all your stuff ready, right?
Yeah, I was ready.
And then you found out how soon before the actual move that wasn't happening.
We were very. I'll just say this right. We were very ill prepared. We did not go to Rancho to apply for a place to live until a week before we were supposed to leave Reno. So we did not plan. Like, we didn't plan that aspect. So I literally quit my job. I quit my job.
Sure.
The day after I quit is when we came out to apply. So I quit my job before I even really successfully knew I was going to move. But we found out the day we were in town. Like, they called us. Like, I think we applied, and not even 3 hours later, they gave us a call. Like, hey, not going to happen. So we literally found out a week before we were moving that we weren't getting it the same day we applied. And so we were like, oh, we're gonna keep trying. Well, it ended up being that we went back home And then it was like, okay, we'll try next month. So it went from next week to next month. And then next month rolled around, and then everybody had spent all their money that they had saved for moving on bills, being in Reno, rent, what have you. So it just slowly started flushing down the drain. But yeah, we found out the day of that we applied that we weren't moving in a week like we had wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, so that was attempt number one.
That was attempt number one. So that was in 2016. When did you move here? Refresh my memory.
November 2018.
2018, right. Okay. So 2 years later, I found myself stuck in Reno. You know what I mean? I've done a lot of things. No hate on Reno. Love Reno, but never moving back. But
no hate, but
no hate.
Never going back there.
Still my home. Rep it till the day I die, but I'm not going back to live there. Maybe Tahoe though. We'll see. But you and I had become, we were already really tight, but you and I had worked on a couple of things, like more exclusively. Like we worked on a couple of movies. We worked, closer together on bigger sets than just on our own.
Yeah, shout out to Mustang. We lived together for that.
We lived for like a month and a half, you and I.
Yeah, that was a nice shoot.
Crazy. Never doing that again. I'm just kidding.
Right.
But so anyway, we had been on a couple other projects, you know what I mean? And you told me you and I met up, I don't know, a month before you moved, maybe a couple of weeks before you moved at a coffee shop, and we caught up. And you're like, "Oh yeah, by the way, I'm moving. Like I think it's time." And I was like, "What?" I was like, "Nah, man, you can't do that." I was like, "You can't move." And you're like, "Nah, I'm moving to LA." And I was like, "Shit!" Like, and it kind of like that day it clicked in my head. I was like, "Damn!" Like I owe a lot of my success to you, and I don't want to I know it's his podcast. I'm not trying to or anything, but if that's too explicit, you can censor that. That's why I didn't say it.
It's the Unguided brand.
The Unguided, yeah. Well, not really, but but anyway, anything for the laugh, I guess. But I owed a lot of my Reno success to you because you always kept me in your best interest. You know what I mean? And when you told me you were leaving, I was scared. I was like, fuck, man, that's it. I'm not. I don't have all the connections he has. I don't know how to get my name out there. And I was talking to my mom about it one day, and I was just like, man, I'm about to lose one of my mentors. You know what I mean? One of the people I really look up to, and one of the people that has helped me get where I'm at. I'm about to lose him. It was a 2-hour conversation, and my mom was just like, you know what you got to do, right? And I'm like, what? And she's like, you got to move to LA with him. Go get the fuck out of Reno. And I was like, nah, that's not going to happen. And she's like, dude, you've been talking about this since you were a kid. You're 20-something years old. If you don't move now, you're never going to move. You will be stuck in Reno for the rest of your life. And it I was like, holy shit. I was like, you're right. And my dad didn't want me to move. He was against it. He was like, no, stay here, help. My parents are disabled. So he was like, stay here, help with us. Help us, with the house and shit. I was living with my grandmother at the time, taking care of her. So it was like a whole, I really had to be selfish for myself kind of thing. But my mom was like, yeah, you got to get out of here. And it's you moving and then having that talk with my mom is really what triggered the she's right, I got to get out of here. And so literally my move to LA is thanks to you for the most part. You're the one that really put it into, because I tried and it failed and I just stayed in Reno. You know what I mean? I'd never attempted to move again because it was that month came along and everybody had spent their money and it was never talked about again. That was it. Mm-hmm. We were all satisfied. We were all content in Reno.
Yeah, because I guess I don't know, I'll try to give you a little bit of credit for my move.
Yeah. Don't get too big brain about it.
No, I won't.
Because now we barely talk.
The thing about it's his fault.
It's my fault.
As far as Reno goes, I feel like this is common across many non-Los Angeles, non-film towns. Is there's an expectation if you're pursuing the craft that you're going to move at some point and give it a shot.
Right.
And I had stalled on my move for so long, and I've seen so many people either A, attempt it, or B, try and come back, or B, say they're going to do it and never do it. Like, all those kinds of things I witnessed plenty of. So, like, you, in your first attempt, already gets in my brain. I'm like, all right, when am I going to do it? Like, when am I going to be ready? He obviously knows he's ready right now. I'm not there yet. So, like, that kind of gets the brain going. And I was living for that for a long time, too. And finally, it lined up and made the jump. But that's me trying to give you some credit on
thanks. You're right. It was all me. It was me all along.
But yeah, all right, cool. Yeah. So you had that conversation, and that's when you kind of like, it's happening, and you try to start planning for that. I forget how much time from then.
This was, when did you move out here?
November 2018.
Yeah. This was the same month. Like, I think literally either the same day or the day after you and I met up, I had talked to my mom. And that's kind of what it happened. I didn't move out here until June or July of 2019. So it was like 6 months after you and I had met up, or 6 months after you left, 6 or 7 months after you left, that I was like ready to come out here. And I don't know, like I currently live with some friends of mine from back home. We moved out here together. And I remember I met up with like my roommate. I called him up one day, and we were at a bar one night, like drunk, for his girlfriend's birthday, and we were talking about moving to LA because it was, a thought. And he was like, "Oh, if you need somebody to move with, let me know." And this was like months prior to your move.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? He's like, "If you ever think about moving to LA, let me know. I'm thinking about moving." So I was like, okay. So like after that talk, I was like, well, I don't want to go out there by myself. Like, I'm not trying to have an apartment by myself.
So you're like, who do I know?
Yeah.
And then,
Right. And then I was like, Paul and I had a conversation about this. So I hit Paul up and I was like, yo, you still trying to move? He's like, yeah, I'm actually thinking about moving like January, February. And I was like, do you want a roommate? He's like, that'd be awesome. So like we ended up working it out. He ended up coming out here, like I said, January, February. I still wasn't out till like June or July, because I had some things to take care of. I had to quit my job. I had to shut down a couple of businesses I had running. I had to really make the move. You know what I mean? It wasn't just as simple as getting up and leaving. I had some things to take care of. And so finally I did it. You know what I mean? And it was hard. I hated leaving my friends, my family. Because I'm a very heavily family oriented kind of guy. And it was, I got so used to being around my family and seeing my family, taking care of my grandmother.
Yeah, because you didn't really have the chance for that to sink in the first time, because you never got to the point where like, oh my gosh, I have a place and I'm leaving that. So that happened that time with. You're like, well, I committed, and he's holding the fort until I show up. He's expecting it.
Yeah. And it's and it's funny because like as a kid, like I was in Boy Scouts and I went to like a summer camp when I was a scout, specifically weeks at a time. I was used to being away from my family, and then when I was a little bit older, like I think like mid-teens, I was like 15. I got a job at that camp. I was gone for 3 months at a time. You know what I mean? I would come back maybe once or twice throughout the summer, but I was gone the entire summer at the summer camp working. So I was used to being away from my family, but the idea of moving away like permanently from my family really affected me. Because
it's different.
I felt really bad. Yeah, I felt really bad because I felt obligated to like take care of my family. You know what I mean? Like I was taking care of my grandmother, like my 89-year-old grandmother I was taking care of, and she had nobody else to take care of her. I was the one, and I'd been living with her since I was 18. Like I've been out here 2 years now. So I moved when I think I had just turned 23, because I just turned 26 now. So it's like I moved 5 months after I turned 23, and so I'd been with her for 5-6 years. You know what I mean? And so it was really hard for me because I felt obligated. But that's what I was saying earlier. Like I had to be like selfish for once, because like I'm always And that's something my mom told me too. She's like, we appreciate you, we love you, and whatever. But like you got to be selfish. You got to do what you got to do for your life. You know what I mean?
So
it was hard.
Those are big words, man.
Hard.
Those are big words.
Yeah, I like using big words. Makes me seem
well,
smarter
not literally
than I really
big
am.
words, but
but moderate words.
Those are like crazy things to hear from your mom.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Oh, that's what you meant. Yeah.
But necessary.
Yeah, dude. It was a real moment with her, and yeah. It was like a 2-hour conversation. Like I was fighting it. I was like, nah, this can't happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like 2 hours, she was like, you gotta go. I kept pushing it off. I'm like, what about this? Had an excuse for everything. What about this? She was like, fuck that. Get rid of that. Like, because I had 2 businesses out there. I was running a photography business. I was making money. I had clients. I had a shirt business. I had clients. You know what I mean? And I'm like, and my excuse was, if I move, I won't have these clients no more. And she's like, all right, shut down the business. What's more important, your photography business or your acting career? And I was like, damn, you're right. Because I was like, shit, like, why'd I pick up photography? Because I bought a camera so I could act. Mm-hmm. So I could film my acting.
Yeah, it's
and
the
I
classic
just wasn't doing anything with it. So I was like,
stalling tactics.
So, yeah. Shout out, Mom. Love you.
Shout out to Mom.
I miss you. Starts crying in the corner. Cut that, Eddie. Cut it.
I don't have a good segue for this.
Yeah, that's fine. Just go right into it. Rip the bandage. Let's go.
I've been wanting to talk about almost a little bit of some more relevant topics in terms of the stuff that's happening in the world today. Do you have any opinions? Like we're recording this like a week before this is going to drop, but
okay.
Texas just announced, I don't know if you heard,
yeah,
like 100% reopening of the state.
Yeah, not mandatory masks.
They're dropping the mask mandate and straight up.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on that? What's your take on?
Okay. I'll say a couple things. I'm gonna keep it pretty minimal. I try not to get too political when I talk, because I really don't keep up with it. So it doesn't
have to be political.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would argue that's fairly political. COVID is now a political thing, so. So I'm, it's one of those things like.
Because we're in Los Angeles, so we're in the complete opposite end of the spectrum, where we're still trying to struggle to. We just got outdoor dining like a couple weeks ago. So it's a little bit different.
It's strictly outdoor.
A little bit different.
Yeah. So I don't know. So I have like really mixed feelings about things. Just to kind of put it into perspective for the audience, in December my father passed from COVID, and so. I don't have a mask on right now. You don't have a mask on right now. I work at a job where I'm required to wear a mask. I work in a food place. I'm required to wear a mask all day long. I respect the mask. I don't like it by any means. I fucking hate the masks.
Nobody likes a mask.
I'm just saying, just in case. I respect the ideal behind it. I respect that it's trying to save lives. And, it's like, it's one of those things that, like, I don't think it's foolproof. I don't think it's the best solution, but it helps. And so I'm with it, which is funny because when COVID first started, like I was like, fuck this mask, dude. Like my dad straight up.
Quotes again over here.
COVID started, yeah. It's a conspiracy theory. No, I'm just kidding. But when it first started, like my dad was like, I hope you have a mask on. I was like, fuck the mask. Hell no. I'm not wearing no goddamn mask. It's just the flu, with a different name.
Sure.
Like I was one of those people. And it's until we started getting yelled at, like as a restaurant, like, hey, why don't you have a mask on? Like this is serious, and it was mandated. It was mandatory for us to wear them. I never wore them. I didn't care. But it's like, it's one of those things, like now it's like the world. So the United States is one of the only place in the entire world that is still dealing with COVID. I have friends Not the only, but one of. I have friends that live in Russia. They've been done with COVID for a year. We've been dealing it with.
COVID just popped up last year.
That's what I'm saying. Like as soon as the shit started, they were done with it. I have friends that are partying in Russia. I have friends that are DJing in Russia. I have friends that are performing in Russia, like artists. You know what I mean? So maybe not a year, but you get what I'm saying. Like as soon as it started, they all did what they had to do. They got it done.
Okay. Just to clarify, I don't know the accuracy of the statement that no other country is dealing with it.
I didn't say no other country. I said one of.
One of the only countries left. I'm like, I don't think that's true. But go on.
Okay.
I don't know.
You're right. This is why I don't like getting political.
I don't have Jamie here to fact check, pull it up on the thing. So regardless.
Can we get a confirmation on that?
So we're getting the foundation of your thoughts on masks. Sure.
Right.
In U.S.
So anyway.
Politics.
It's what it is, man. I don't know enough about it. That's why I don't talk about it.
All right.
But I think, like I said, I think it's. I don't really know what else. I don't know what to say. I think it's very like it's. I think it's up to the person, because no matter what, people don't fucking follow the rules. You know what I'm saying? Like how many people had parties for the Super Bowl? I'll tell you right now, a lot. I know that because I work for a place that sold a bunch of big orders during the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. How many people had big Christmas? I'll admit, I fucking went home out of state to my hometown during New Year's to be with my family because of the deaths in the family that we had in December. I wasn't wearing a fucking mask. And that's coming from somebody who just lost his dad to COVID. You understand? People don't follow the rules. Whether they want to or not, they don't fucking do it. We're not perfect. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. You're not perfect. That's how it is.
Well, because those family situations are tough, because even if you are doing the best that you can do to go about it, you're there for an extended time. Yeah. And at some point you've got to eat with the family, and then you're like, well, we're already not wearing masks for this, and we're chatting during this. Should we put them back on for this other? It just gets weird at some point.
100%.
So it's tricky.
You know, that wasn't the only time I went home during COVID, and the first time I had a mask on every time because like my grandmother was like 91. My dad, both my parents are older. Like my mom's, my dad was like 70 this year, or he would have been 70 this year. My mom's 60. You know what I mean? So I always am around older people, and they're all disabled, they're all handicapped, whatever. So it's like I've always, like my first time I went home, I always had a mask on because I was like, I don't want to risk anything, right? And they quite literally begged me to take it off because they're like, this is ridiculous. Like, we're your family. So, it's like, it was a battle, like with myself. I'm like, I don't want to, like, I come from one of the biggest COVID populated places, and you're like cool with me taking my mask off? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's weird. It's like, does that make it okay?
Right.
Just because you're cool with it. It's like, like, hold up, but it's tricky.
So it was a struggle, you know what I mean? But like I said, when I went home, like I just, it is what it is. I was there for, like 10 days or whatever. And I was like, yeah, I'm not doing this. But like I said, I respect it. And I wear it like I don't complain about wearing it anymore. I used to. I don't anymore now because I'm like, especially losing somebody from COVID. And I want to put this out there. My dad was very careful. My dad never left the house. Since COVID started, he didn't leave the house. He stayed in the fucking house, and he still fucking died from that shit. Because somebody at my cousin's work was careless, gave it to my cousin, and my cousin gave it to the rest of the family, which spread to my dad and killed him. So even being somebody like that who is very careful with how he deals, you know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm saying. People don't follow the rules. He didn't deserve that, but he still got it. He did everything he could to prevent it. He still got it. So I think it's up to you. Like, I'm all for, like, yeah, let's save people. You know what I mean? Like, I don't fucking want to be the cause that somebody died.
Sure.
But I think, if you live in a state where it's not mandatory, that's your life. You know what I mean? If you want to take that risk, that's fine. That's cool. It's your life. And if you think that you contracting it is not important, and that you are going to suffer with the consequences of that, like, that's all right, dude. That's your life. I'm going to wear my mask, even if LA, Like, as long as there is COVID, I will wear my mask.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I imagine it'll be like in Texas then, is it still comes down to the individual businesses, because they can still mandate individually within their stuff, is masks to get in, or like, I don't know how all that's going to work.
And I think that's perfectly fine.
Or like you as an individual can still, which I think is likely a good idea.
Yeah.
Because, it's still out there. But regardless, I thought it was interesting that... we're at a point when it's being rolled back to that extent in some ways. And I don't know how far back LA is on that timeline, but
forever.
But
it's and but that's just, and I didn't mean to get like too emotional or whatever. I didn't mean to throw any like curveballs at anybody, but I just wanted to like make it clear with my thoughts. That's even with that being in my life. Like, this is my thought. Like, it's your life. You do what you got to do for yourself. Nobody cares about you. Nobody cares about me. I care about myself. You care about yourself. So it's one of those, you do what's best for you. If that's wearing a mask, great. If it's not, that's your choice. That's how, that's my take on it. That's how I feel. Mm-hmm. If Texas wants to remove the mandatory mask, but if Texans still want to wear it, I'm all for it. Go for it. Because it's still here. You can remove mask mandates all you want. You can pretend like COVID's not COVID. That's fine, but it's still COVID. It's still here. And I'm not saying that I advocate everything that's said about COVID. I don't believe that all the numbers they said, deaths, I don't believe those are all real. I think that there are some fake numbers, but it's still a problem.
Well, the fake numbers thing, I don't know what you're referring. I think what...
Like the deaths.
Well, the thing that... Okay. The weird thing about the COVID deaths, from my perspective, is there's all this... That's the weird thing about today's day and age, right? It's like misinformation and trying to figure out, like, all right, there's a lot of headlines flying around. Because, I don't know, it's weird. Like, you see... For me, one of the stats that came out early was, like, they're applying the COVID death to things where COVID wasn't necessarily the main reason for the primary death.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's kind of where, like, a little bit of potential inflation there. But then there's another video that comes out where, like, a doctor's speaking out about, like, no, we don't do that. We're debunking this. That's false. Yeah. So it's like, all right, what's going on? Who knows?
Right. Who knows?
But regardless, as of right now, the thought is there's a horizon that we can see, and maybe things are chilling out a little bit. Fingers crossed. Get back to set life. That's my selfish look on.
See, I don't. Yeah. My take on that, what you just said. Granted, you said set life, but I don't think things are ever going to be the same. That's just my personal opinion. Like, a lot of people are like, I can't wait for life to go back to the way it was.
Sure. In what ways do you imagine it changing forever?
Well, so for instance, I think we will always have hardcore mask wearers. Even in 3 years, if they're like, dude, literally COVID is no longer a thing, and they're like, I don't give a shit, fuck your germs, they're going to be wearing a mask. Like 100%, we're going to see people wearing masks. It's going to be more common from here on out. Mm-hmm. I guarantee it.
Because in other countries, I know masks have been a thing forever, and normally if you're sick, you put a mask on so you're not spreading to courtesy. Others, and you're and that's ideally that's where I'd imagine it going.
Yeah,
that's like the best case scenario on the mask side versus the protection of myself from others.
Right.
Because it's helpful on that end. It's more helpful on the spread end.
Yes, but I mean there are a lot of extremists out there, even like now, that are. Okay, so like you said, there are a lot of facts. Air quotes actually intended this time.
Okay.
Facts.
Sure.
That COVID can be spread this way. COVID can't be spread this way. COVID can like cans and cans. And it's like you said, like, what is real, what isn't. Okay, well, I've heard COVID can't be spread through food. I've heard, you know what I mean? Like, it's COVID can't be spread through food, but there are people out there that are like, yes, it can. Okay, well, where'd you hear that? Okay, well, where did I hear my thing? I heard it from somebody who advocates for the CDC, saying that it can't be spread through food. So, if I'm over here, let's say you're cooking dinner, and I'm over here eating something before dinner. Somebody walks in and is like, why doesn't, like, you have a mask on, he doesn't, you're cooking food, I don't want to eat that fucking food. Like, okay, well, why though?
Oh, because
you know
there's the worry of the air falling
exactly. It flows, okay. Right.
Onto the food, and the food gets served or whatever.
But you can't get it through food, or so I've heard, right? So it's like, there's a lot of people that, it's like, okay, well, right, but there's still germs, right? Still people are maybe not necessarily worried about COVID, but they're worried about my germs or your germs. So if I don't have a mask on, they're going to complain about it. So I would still say there's a lot of people that are going to heavily wear masks for themselves, because I deal with that on a daily basis at a restaurant. You know what I mean? Like, I deal with a lot of people, like, because we're allowed to, if we're in the back eating, like on break, we don't have to have a mask on because we're not near food. But we've had people yell at us from outside, being 20 feet away from the food, that we're, a horrible establishment.
Like contaminating or something.
Right, exactly. So I just don't think things are gonna, and that's just the basic, like, that's just one thing.
I can see that, because that's one of the weird things about the society shift and how quickly we get conditioned into seeing things a certain way.
Yep.
To where, like, let's just say, hypothetically speaking, the world announced, you don't have to wear masks anymore. Mm-hmm. It's fine. There are still, like, tomorrow we can know that that's the new rule, and that's not enforced, and we're like, oh, sweet, I can go about. But then when I start seeing people walking around without a mask, I'm like, oh my gosh, they need, wait. It's like, oh wait, we don't have to wear masks anymore. Like, there's that weird conditioning of no mask wrong.
No mask wrong, yeah.
Yeah, caveman speak, but.
Yeah, I don't know. Moving on.
It's a tricky world. All right, next thing.
Next thing. Hopefully something better.
Something chiller. I was gonna let's switch the mood a little bit. I'm gonna throw some thoughtful quotes at you.
Okay.
And I want to get your
think about it.
I want to get your. I don't know.
I'm gonna do this while you're doing it.
It's either A, rate the quote, or B, just. What does it make you think of?
Okay.
This is super random. This is on keepinspiring.me.
Okay. I need to check that.
Thoughtful quotes. A great man is one who has not lost the child's heart. Quote by Mencius.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds like a great quote to me. I would rate that like a 7 or an 8. It's not the best thing I've ever heard, but I mean,
it's thoughtful.
It's thoughtful, especially like for me, which I think you probably even saw in my Among Us breakdown video. Like I say it in there. I'm a child. Like I think a lot of shit's funny that, like, adults my age are like, you're stuck in your, like, teenage years. Like, I laugh at shit that probably really isn't that funny, but I think it is. I think if you lose touch with your child self, you take things too seriously, and you just kind of, it's not really, like, you're not really living for fun anymore. Because I feel like that's something like,
do you think that's where fun stems from, is kind of having that childlike view of the world and because I don't know what the adult version of fun is. Like, I don't quite
either.
Or
it's nothing.
Oh my gosh, you got the taxes done. That was great.
God. Yay.
Did you do your taxes yet?
No, actually I haven't. I need to do that. When do I haven't until June?
April. Tax days.
Oh. Next month? God, I should probably do that today.
Anyway.
Yeah. No, I think, like, I don't like taking things too seriously. You know what I mean? Like, I like having fun. I like enjoying my life. And, like, everything I do, I just, like, if you can't find fun in it, what's the point? You know what I mean? Like, and I feel like if you lose track of, like, your childhood self, like the things you enjoyed when you were younger, if you don't enjoy those now, it's just like you're just taking shit too seriously. Yeah. Like
sure.
Not to get religious, or I don't believe in reincarnation. You only got one life. YOLO. bringing it back to the early 2000s, YOLO.
Okay.
You only live once. So take advantage. Full advantage of your life. Have fun. Don't take shit too seriously. Enjoy your life. Do the shit that you like, shit that makes you fun, or makes you have fun. Makes you fun too, but makes you have fun. And just, don't be afraid to be a child. Don't be afraid to just enjoy the little things like that,
Yeah. Be goofy, be weird. And like I think about things that are seen as childlike. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I remember on an airplane once I ordered hot chocolate, and
yes,
as I do, and the flight attendant tried to clarify. You want like what alcohol did you want in it? And I'm like, no,
I just want hot chocolate.
I just want the hot chocolate. Thank you.
With the little marshmallows.
And then she like kind of giggled at me and laughed, and I'm like,
yeah, no, dude, I'm all for that.
I'm like, well.
Granted, I would have
normally kids just get the hot chocolate is what she informed me.
Of course.
Like I'm like, oh, well, I'm a kid.
Well, you're like, well, yes, I am a kid in an adult's body.
I got a child's heart, so.
Yeah. No, and it's it's like same thing. Like I enjoy things like that too. It's like, and I mean, specifically something that recently happened. I was talking to a couple of my gamer friends, about this. Like, I actually really enjoy TikTok. I know we were like kind of joking about that earlier. I actually really enjoy TikTok. Okay. I think TikTok is very entertaining, and I laugh at a lot of that shit. But I still, being 26, I still love like the meme society. Like I love memes. Okay. I think memes are hilarious. And I was talking to some of my gaming friends the other day about something I saw, and I was laughing about this. And then one of them was just like, "Dude, you're such a child. Like who the fuck likes memes other than teenagers?" And I was like, me, motherfucker? What the?
Everybody likes memes.
Yeah, but he was like, it just like really put into perspective that he was like, oh, like, you're older than that. You shouldn't be giggling at stupid comedy like that. I'm like, man, this shit was funny as fuck. Mm-hmm. Get out of here. Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm saying. Like some people, I'm not saying all, but like some people have that mentality of like, you're older. Like, why do you enjoy that kid stuff?
You know what meme spread like wildfire that really revealed that everybody likes memes? That I did not
Catch me outside? Catch me outside, how about that?
It was the Bernie meme.
Oh, the mittens?
Yeah, he spread through everything. Demographic that like everybody was posting that meme. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't get it. I don't get it, y'all. Yeah. I'm not a memer though.
I don't know. I think it's funny. I like stupid comedy.
That's more of a comedic thing than like a child thing to me.
But yes, but like, what he said that really caught me off. Because he said
Bernie?
No, yeah, Bernie Sanders when I talked to him specifically.
Oh, your buddy, okay.
Yeah, no. My buddy, like the fact that he was like, other than teenagers, who likes that kind of comedy? Like you laugh at stupid comedy. You know what I mean? And that's why I'm like, dude, like you're taking life too seriously, bro. And you're younger than me, mind you. He's younger. Mm-hmm. And he said that to me. I was like, you're taking life too seriously, bro. Like, I'm still laughing at stupid shit because I am a stupid shit. You know what I mean? Like, that shit's, it's funny to me.
Next quote.
Next quote.
This one I feel like relates to the song breakdown you just put down, too. Like, I feel like this came up at some point for sure. Okay. This quote's from Plato, supposedly. I can't verify if he said this or not.
We don't have the fact checker today.
But... Be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a battle.
Yeah. That's actually, that's just common knowledge. That's not even a quote. That's just common knowledge.
But I feel like there are people that forget that. Like when they're interacting with you behind the counter back there, they're not really thinking about that's a person who has a life. They're like, me, blah, blah, blah.
And that's something that is very... I know I'm not saying anything new, but that's something that's very common in today's life is like, it's all about me. It's all about me. My life is. And it's like, yeah, that's fine. Like I just said earlier, like nobody cares about you. Nobody cares about me. I'm all for like yourself, you have to be your biggest advocate, but just be a nice person. You know what I mean? Like you don't know, like, unless I told you my dad died, you don't know I'm going through that. I could keep that from the world. And I could just be having one day where I'm just quiet, and you're like, why the fuck is this guy quiet? Because normally I'm like the loud guy. I'm the guy that is funny. I like cracking jokes. And it's like, if you're having a bad day and I decide to be quiet and you like pick on me for that or whatever, like, you don't know what I'm going through. You know what I mean? And it's like, you might be mad because your girlfriend called you a bitch this morning. But like, I'm upset because my fucking father just passed away. But you're taking, like, and I'm being, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm being professional about my life, not taking it on anybody, but then you're taking something out on me that's literally minuscule compared to my problems. So it's I think it's, and I think I did put that in my
I think that's like America in a nutshell too, though.
Pretty much.
Because it's easy to not even consider what others are going through, how others live their lives, and we get caught up in details that in the grander scheme, like you said, are
And it's, and just one more thing on that, like, you brought up my Among Us song breakdown. I say in there that, like, when I am in that kind of mindset, like when I'm in a negative mindset, when I'm in a angry mindset, when I'm in a toxic mindset, I am fully aware of that. I know, and like, I know what I'm going through, and I know how I feel, and I know that if I start beef with you, I'm going to regret it later, because I'm going to say something that I should not fucking say, because I'm so bottled up with all this toxic shit that I'm going to take it out on somebody that doesn't deserve it. You know what I mean? And I say it in my thing, like, if you're dealing with internal issues, you deal with it. Like, don't let other people get in those crossfires, like, and just be real with people. Be like, yo, I'm dealing with shit, man. Please leave me alone. Like, and most people will respect that. Most people will be like, all right, man, like, I'm sorry, hit me up when you're good. You know what I mean? Or I'm here, like, just know that I'm here if you need me. You know what I mean? That's what I do. Like, if somebody tells me that, I'm like, yo, I'm here if you want to talk. If not, I'll talk to you later. Or if I'm in that toxic mode, I'm just like, yo, like, Eddie, please leave me alone. Like, right now it's not the time. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Because I know what I'm going through, and I know that if you say some shit that pisses me off, hell's gonna rain down on you. You know what I mean? Because I know what I'm capable of.
Right.
So it's like, I say that in there, like, just deal with your own shit, and like, just be real with people. Like, you don't gotta tell them what's going on. You don't gotta be like, oh, my dad just died. But like, you can just be like, yo, I'm not in the mood. Like, I'm not fucking ready for this. Like, I will hit you.
At least some attempt at the communication to
exactly give them a chance to, like, deserve. You know what I mean? Like, give them a chance to really push, because that's their fault. You gave them a chance to back off and they didn't. That's them. But like, don't just lay into people because you're pissed off and they're trying to be like a decent human being, talking to you, communicating with you. You know what I mean? Just be like, yo, not now, later. And that's something that I have dealt with heavy in the past. Like, I've tried to help friends, and instead of communicating with me that they were going through some shit, they took it out on me. And I've lost friendships because of that. Because I'm not going to let somebody do that to me. I'm not going to let somebody be toxic in my life, make me feel like I'm emotionally inadequate, and then, the next day be like, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, because it's a lot of work for people it takes a lot for a person to A, understand how they're feeling, and then B, put those feelings into words and say something. Actually, there's a layer even before that. There's like, being able to say anything at all is very difficult when you're feeling something, to let somebody know that that's even existing. Like, letting that become reality is because sometimes, like, there's the thing of not dealing with a problem, and I'm feeling angry about something, and I think the best way of handling it is by myself, within myself. Therefore, I try not to let anybody know about it, and I don't even acknowledge that it's a thing. And sometimes that's more of like burying the problem, and
which is its own other problem.
That's which it comes back to the same thing as, like, you don't know that if somebody's doing that and their non-communication. It's tough. People are. It's.
Yeah, and I know. I realize I say that in like a very like, oh, come on, it should be easy. I realize like emotions are a very hard thing to deal with, but it's. Like I said, even if, like, just as simple as not now. Most decent people are going to be like, all right, not now. Deuces.
Here's the next quote.
Let's go.
Experience is not what happens to you. It's what you do with what happens to you. Aldous Huxley.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a good quote.
Something that just happened to me. It almost... I went down to my car yesterday.
Yeah.
My apartment has 2 floors of garage. I went down there to see my car jacked up on one side, and the muffler was like dragged on the ground, like it was on the ground.
Yeah.
And I was looking at it. There's that weird moment of like process.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is real.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Now what? Somebody kind of found their way into the garage, and they were trying to steal my catalytic converter. And I guess the maintenance guy scared him off, which is why like the jack was still there and all that kind of stuff. But they had to cut one side of it and didn't cut the other side. So regardless, it stressed me out all day yesterday. Okay. And car stuff is always the worst. I'm like, I have to drive this Friday. Like, what am I going to... I need to buy a new car. Like, I didn't even know what the issue was at the first sight. I'm like, what's wrong?
Yeah.
So regardless, it kind of comes down to this too, with like, all right, this happened to me. Now it's in my control of like, how do I handle it? How do I respond to this? Who do I blame for this? Like it kind of, and it all dispersed very quickly on my side with like, my car insurance can't cover this. I just have basic liability. The apartment in my lease, it says they don't, like they're not responsible. Yeah. And then the video they have of the dudes, it's COVID time, so you've got full mask, hat, thick beanies, thick
right, so you can't
hoodies.
tell who it is. You can't even track them down if you wanted to.
So,
can't pay a hitman, yeah. It sucks, man. It's all around.
So, it's not... Because I think some people have the tendency of thinking that what happens to them does define them, and they kind of fall into the... Like, it's... I don't know, like... I don't know. I just feel like I worded that right, but maybe...
No, but I get what you're saying. I think one of those... It's funny, I'm not a religious man, but I do believe things happen for a reason. And I do believe that we all have some sort of destiny. But I do agree with that quote. Like, I think, like, all things happen for a reason. Not all things are good. And I don't think those things determine where your life is going. But things happened to you
for a reason. For you to learn something.
Whether it's to learn a lesson, whether it's to improve your life, whether it's to, like, whatever it is. Like, I think things happen for a reason. So, like, some people look way too much into that. And they're like, oh, like, well, I was going to... Like, I shouldn't own a car because this shit happens to me all the time with a car. It's like, no, that's not necessarily. Maybe you should just, move to a different place that doesn't have bad people living around you. Or, whatever it is. But, like, some people look way too much into that kind of stuff. But I think it happened for a reason. And I think it doesn't determine your life. I don't think it defines where you're going. I just think that if it's something like that, you just got to figure out, always find the bright side. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it sucks. Fuck that guy for sure.
The bright side.
Yeah, but take care of it, move on. Do what you gotta do. So I think you handled that really well. Go and get that shit fixed today before our podcast.
Yeah, I got it done in a day. It just was a little welding fix, thankfully. Oh, Jesus, my word. Because... that
would have sucked.
Yeah. I don't know.
Dude, I just want to put this out there. I hate... Whenever it comes to, I'm not a car person at all. Whenever it comes to car maintenance, I'm such a goo gaga baby. Like, I'm like, professionals do it for me. Whatever you charge me, you charge me. Like, and I've gotten fucked so many times by that. Like, I've paid so much unnecessary money because they're like, this is what I have to do. And I'm like, okay. Because I don't know any better. So I'm just like, okay.
Sure.
And I get yelled at by my mechanic friends because they're like, why didn't you fucking call me? I would have told you that was stupid.
It's pivotal.
And I'm like, I was in the moment. I didn't. So.
It's pivotal. Because, because I grew, my father's mechanic.
Yeah.
So... which is a blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
But there's definitely, like, my brother knows a lot. So I texted them, like, some photos, and they're like, oh, looks like this. And then my buddy George, you know George.
Yeah, George.
Came by and patched it up for me.
Nice.
And kind of gave me the lowdown of this is what you're going to need. And they also cut the O2 sensor, which is going to turn on your check engine light.
Yeah.
And so then when I went to the dude today, I'm like, this is what happened. Check it out. And like normally mechanics are pretty, like especially new mechanics you haven't dealt with, they assume you know nothing.
Right.
So then we're like down there looking at it. I'm like, yeah, I was curious, like, what's your thoughts on this O2 sensor? And so he kind of like, he kind of woke up a little bit there and was like, oh yeah.
Kid actually
I know what I'm talking about here.
No, I know jack shit about cars.
So it's, it's just like acting. You get some lines assigned from your mechanic friend, you show up and you say the lines and it seems like you know stuff, but really.
Fair enough.
I'm close to goo goo gaga like you.
Yeah, it's so bad. It's so bad.
I don't know. We'll try one more in here. We'll see. I'm looking, scrolling. I don't know.
I also want to say while you're doing that, I have a just randomly. It's just now we're talking about cars, and you're just saying somebody messed up your car. I have this like I don't get anxiety, but I have this like minor anxiety about parking on the street, and I had to park on the street to be here today, and I'm like. Especially now that you say that, I'm like minorly freaking out inside. Like I hate parking on the street because I used to park my very first car. I parked on the street outside my house, and when we were all away one day, somebody rear-ended me and left, like hit and run. And ever since then, I've always been like parking on the street is a no-no.
I thought you were gonna say parallel parking was.
No, I'm fucking great at parallel parking. Like I actually had to do it twice here because I cut it a little too close the first time, but. I'm actually really good at parallel parking, like stupid. And here's actually a funny story behind that, just for comedic relief. Not that we need that in this episode, but when I went to go get my driver's license, nobody showed me how to parallel park at all. And in Reno, I don't know about LA, but in Reno, it is required that you know how to parallel park.
The attempt needs to be made on the test.
Out here?
In Reno.
Oh, yeah.
You at least have to attempt it. You don't have to complete the park.
But you have to
try.
Pass the park. You can't... If you hit one of the cones, you're fucked. And I know that because I screwed myself by hitting one of the cones.
If you hit the curb, though, and don't complete the park, it's fine. Just don't hit the cone.
Right, but I hit the cone.
Okay.
So, I didn't know how to parallel park. Nobody showed me how to parallel park. I had done all this research on how to, what are the traffic lights, and what is this, and what is that. I had everything perfect. I had, a 98% on my written, and everything else on the driving was awesome. And the guy literally told me, he's like, the only reason I'm failing you is because you can't parallel park, and you have to know how to parallel. He's like, and you hit my cone, and I can't pass you. That could have been a car, whatever.
Sure.
So I failed my first attempt. I walked out. I tell my mom, I'm like, I don't know how to parallel park. And she's like, oh, well, let's teach you. Within 5 minutes of my mom telling me how to parallel park, I did it perfect the first time. If I would have taken 5 minutes before my test to learn how to parallel park, I would have passed with flying colors.
So you didn't even know it was going to be a part of the test.
I had no idea. I was young and stupid and dumb and stupid and dumb. So it was. So I just wanted to.
And you've never. Oh, you just admitted that you didn't get it right the first time.
No, I'm not perfect at it, but I'm really good.
That ever since you've never taken more than one try to parallel park, but it's not the case.
I've been perfect ever since. No, every now and then I mess it up, but I'm really good at it. I see people parallel parking, and I just sit there and watch them, and I'm just like, it's supposed to be a 3-point turn. I see people doing 20 points, and I'm like,
it's tough.
That's it. Yeah, it's hard, and I understand it's a hard thing, but I'm so good at it. I just think it's funny that 5 minutes I would have been.
But to ease you here, this neighborhood is pretty safe.
You're gonna honestly tell me that after the shit that you just told me?
Well, here's the issue with what just happened to me.
Freaked me out.
I almost was thinking parking on the street is more safe during the day for something like that to happen, because the thing that was during the just straight up daylight, 3 p.m. 2 days ago. I guess they tried this. So it's more secluded in the garage, in that specific garage, than trying it on the street where there's people walking and traffic going through. So
that's fair.
I'm kind of worried about being at night and on the street. I feel it's dangerous. Yeah. At night in the garage, I don't know. I'm questioning everything now.
Everything. It's all questionable.
Because I've told a few people, and everybody's got the story of like, oh yeah, in Koreatown, I heard that's pretty common. I'm like, really? But like the manager that runs the apartment, and pulled up the footage and stuff. She was saying she felt really bad for me because she thinks I'm really nice and all that kind of stuff.
Of course.
And she pulled up the footage and all like and all that for me. But she was saying in her 12 years of being here, that's never like this. That's the first time she's ever seen it, supposedly.
Maybe people just have it out for you.
Because normally, if people end up in one of the garages, they're normally trying the handle, see if the doors are open on the cars and stuff. But like trying to jack up a car and tear a piece off, like it's not normally.
Yeah.
So regardless, that was something that happened to me. Last quote. This is from Jerry Seinfeld. Sometimes the road less traveled is less traveled for a reason. I don't know what thought that brings to you.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, it's... My thoughts on that are... To me, that's saying, like... There aren't a lot of people that do certain things, and that's because...
It's hard.
It's hard. Right. It's hard, or it's... Scary, or it's... Whisper more ears. Or whisper more ears. Whisper more words. Whisper more ears in my words. But no, yeah, it's, like obviously this shit's hard, and it doesn't come to your common person, doesn't come to your common man, and you can attempt it, but it doesn't mean you're going to make it. Doesn't mean it's going to do well in your attempt.
How?
So,
well, I guess.
Just putting it on.
How does it make you feel that you're pursuing a road less traveled?
I feel empowered by it. I love it. I enjoy doing things that your common man would not do. I think that's something I've always loved about being an entertainer. Like, everybody shits on entertainers. Like, I mean, unless you're the big one. Like, unless you're big, like huge, like Drake. Like, I mean, people shit on Drake, but like, if you're Drake, you have more supporters than you do haters, right? Like, everybody's like, oh, you can do whatever you want because you're Drake. So it's like, when you already are established, it's one thing to be an entertainer because everybody's on your side, or everybody that matters is. But as an unknown artist, as an amateur indie,
air quotes, as a nobody.
As a nobody, your boy's making it. As a nobody, it's nice because it's like people are like, you can't do it, and then you just continuously push. And you're just like, bitch, says who? Like, who says I can't do it? You? Ask these 10 other people who say I can do it.
Doesn't matter what anybody says.
Yeah.
Whether it's a can or a can't, it's still up to you. It still comes down to you.
Right. But that's how I feel though. Like, I feel like taking the road less traveled, it's like, it's not meant for everybody. That's fine. It's not meant for everybody. I know people it's not meant for. But it's just like, I've always liked that about being an entertainer because they shit on you. They're like, you can't do it. You can't do it. It's not possible. You're not 1 in a million. There's no way you're 1 in a million. It's like, all right, bet. One day I will be 1 in a million. Because that's what I want. Because I enjoy doing this. Mm-hmm. And eventually, because I enjoy doing it, other people are going to enjoy being a part of me doing it. Watching me doing it. Listening to me doing it. Everybody's just going to be watching a guy do it, bro. I'm going to do it all over the place. On a couch, the counter.
Anyway, I saw a meme. Joke, speaking of memes, I saw a meme. Was it you that shared it? I feel like it's something that you would have shared. But the meme was, there's all these people in one's life when you're doing these kinds of things. Remember me when you're famous.
Yeah.
Is what they say.
Yeah.
And then the counter is, well, how about you buy my merch, share my music, listen to my music, support, and maybe I'll remember you.
That's right. Like, give me a reason to remember. Yeah, no, 100%. And I wouldn't even necessarily call it a meme, but it's like, that's just some true shit. Like, I see it all the time posted around, like, people being like, like, how much money does it take for you to support your friend's dreams? Literally $0. Like their post, comment on their post, stream their music, watch their short film, share their short film, share their music, talk about them. Like, literally $0 to support a friend
Well, you're paying
pursuing.
You're paying with time and attention.
With time, yeah, but
which is our most valuable asset.
How much time do you waste in a day, Eddie?
Me?
Okay, that's how much time does the common man waste in a day? That's a better question.
We all waste lots of time,
exactly. Waste 5 seconds on me. That's all I'm asking.
Great, and it's not a waste.
Because it won't be a waste. Because then I'll remember your ass in the future. Yeah, no, straight up, 100%.
All right. I want to talk pizza with you, Kris.
Pizza, let's do it. That's one of my favorite foods.
Everybody is wondering, because we had a lot of tweets about this episode.
I know we did. It was crazy, man. My phone was blowing up for a whole half a second.
And what? Because you mentioned you've toted your skills at the pizzeria. That you're great at what you do, and you'll fight someone to the death to prove that. What? I've been craving pizza. It's been a craving. I think it's just been like classic marketing. Like I think I just see like a great piece of pizza on Instagram or something. I'm like, oh my gosh, I really could use some pizza right now.
Yeah.
So, what's the secret to great pizza? Because you make it from scratch at the pizzeria, right?
So yes, but I don't make the pizza. I don't do the dough. I don't toss the dough. Sometimes I'll top the pizza if we're crazy busy. I cook the pizza. I'm the one that runs the oven. So I just want to put that out there. I have nothing to do with the ingredients. I have nothing all I do is I bring love into the pizzeria, and I turn the pizzas and cook them, make sure they're fine. That's all.
So what do you know about the process before it gets? Do you know enough to share about like maybe some tips there?
What I can tell you from what I have learned from being here, for those of you watching, listening that don't know, I work at a Brooklyn pizza shop. Shout out Pizza Wagon of Brooklyn on Ventura, 14522 and a half Ventura.
Sherman Oaks, right?
Sherman Oaks, yes. I work for the owners that are from Brooklyn. Like they ran a Brooklyn shop for 30 years after his uncle opened it in 66. So his family bought it from his uncle, and then he ran it for 30 years. To move out here, which we've been open a little under 2 years now. We've been open like I think 21 or 22 months now. And I've learned this from him, from the wisdom that is my boss. The secret to making good pizza is just being a good pizza maker. Like it's literally that simple. Like it has nothing to do with the ingredients. It has nothing to do with the water. Like a lot of people say, like Brooklyn has the best pizza because of the water. That's false. And I'm not even from Brooklyn, and I'll say that because I have a lot of friends and customers at the pizzeria that are from Brooklyn, and we have proven to them that it has nothing to do with the water. It's you just have to know how to make pizza. If you don't know how to make pizza, it's going to suck. But if you know how to make pizza, shit's good.
So it's more in the technique of the hands that create it.
Yep.
And they have potential secrets that they, or not even secrets, but just like a method.
Yeah.
All right. So then it comes to you. I don't like. Okay.
I just run the oven. I literally just cook the pies.
So does it come down to the oven then? Like, is it possible to create that same? If you took that same pizza and put it in my oven and baked it at whatever, like, does it come out? I don't. Is it good? I don't know.
I've never tried it. We should try that. I would assume yes, because we have people come into the pizzeria and buy dough from us, like just uncooked raw dough, and then they take it home and they make pizza. And we have people
Papa Murphy style.
Kind of, but we don't sell toppings. We literally just sell the dough.
Okay.
That's it, like in a bowl, and then they go home, they flatten it out, they toss it, they top it. But we have people that do that constantly, which means that they like the dough. And that's something that we get a lot of compliments on, like, oh, your crust is amazing. Your dough is amazing. You know what I mean?
I'm getting hungry here.
But that's just we should get food after this. That's just one of the ingredients, though. You know what I mean? Because I heard about the sauce, too. The sauce is good. Like, oh, your sauce is really good, you know. Your toppings, whatever it is.
It's all good.
I think it's all just in the... I think it's all just in the like the love and like the care for what it actually tastes like. I feel like if you brought it here, yeah, it would be good. But you would only be having our dough. You wouldn't have, like, you could get Prego and put, I mean, that would be a fucking sin, but you could get Prego and put on top of it, I'm sure it would be fine. You know what I mean? Like, but yeah, the oven that we have there is a stone oven. We don't use like one of the wood turning, we use a stone oven. And I think it definitely adds to the taste.
Mm-hmm.
But, and also it's, you know, it's being cooked by somebody that knows how to cook a pizza. It's not just like putting a thermometer in a pizza and be like, is it ready yet?
Well,
which I hope nobody does, but
it's normally just an eyeball test, right? Like,
yeah.
I don't know if that's what you do.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much.
You look at it, yeah, it's done.
Pretty much. You just constantly check it. You know, it's not like a frozen pizza you just throw in there for 10 minutes and it's good. You know what I mean? You have to constantly be turning it. Granted, like I said, I don't know how you do it at home. I've never done that, like a fresh dough at home, unless it's been like even a Papa Murphy's, but even then you just put it in there, you don't turn it. You just put it in and cook it. But for us, like, we turn it constantly, make sure the bottom doesn't go too dark, make sure it's not too crispy on top.
What is turning?
So like, you know, if you go into a pizzeria, they have like a paddle and they put it in. Well, what we do is we have a paddle and we put it in there. And then every couple of minutes, I'll open the oven, I'll check the bottom, and I'll use the paddle to rotate the pizza, to turn the pizza. Because like, parts of the oven burn hotter than other parts, right? So if I have a pizza in there, and let's say this is the corner of the oven, and I have a pizza in the corner, this back corner of the pizza is going to burn a lot harder than the front corner. So I have to rotate it so that doesn't get black and burnt underneath, and this one's not too light. So I'm continuously rotating the heat basically underneath. And so the heat is like evened out through the process of the pie baking. Yeah. So, you know, we just watch it, make sure it doesn't get too dark underneath, too dark up top, make sure it's crispy enough but not undercooked. It's just love, man.
It's always
one of those, if I wouldn't eat it, I don't want to give it to somebody else kind of thing.
And then I've heard you say before too, because I don't know, that you mentioned you can rate the quality of a pizza based off their cheese pizza, like the plain.
Yeah, that's like the common. Yeah.
That's like the bar. It's like if they can make a great just plain old cheese pizza, that's how you know it's a good place. If you need it to be layered in all these ingredients and dipped in ranch,
you're just masking the flavor at that point, which you might as well just go by
DiGiorno.
Yeah. At least get a fancy name with the bullshit you're buying. Like, straight. And that's a very common thing. Like, a lot of pizza connoisseurs will say that. Like, if the cheese slice is bad, the rest of it's bad. Like, because like I said, you're just masking the flavor of the pizza. At that, like, why have the pizza? Just eat the pepperoni. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, just go get a salad and put some chicken and pepperoni on it and call it good. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, that's a very common thing in the pizza world, the industry of pizza.
All right.
And that's why we have people like One Bite, like the guy from Barstool, goes around and takes one bite out of a cheese pizza, and he rates it off of one bite. And he'll rate the entire shop on a slice of cheese. And they're like, well, that's not even our most popular. It doesn't matter. Your most popular probably has 20 toppings on top. And that's why it's so good, is because it doesn't. You don't taste the pizza, you taste the toppings.
His name is One Bite.
Yeah, I don't follow him.
That's cool.
Yeah, I don't follow him, but that's what he does. That's his MO. He takes one bite out of a slice of pizza, and he can tell right off the bat, cheese pizza. He can tell right off the bat if it's good pizza or not. And he rates, and people like swear by his ratings. Like, if he rates a pizzeria like low, nobody will fucking go there.
Did you know what he rated you guys?
He hasn't rated our LA shop, but the Brooklyn store, he rated them like a 4.6, I think. So
out
pretty
of
high.
5?
Out of 5, yeah. Okay. So pretty good.
Like out of 10?
Pretty good. Yeah, needless to say, they've been shut down for 3 years. No. Yeah, he hasn't come to our shop yet out here. But, nope. And I say our shop. It's not my shop. I just work there. I'm nobody important.
Eventually it'll be yours. I'm just kidding.
One day.
Become the sun.
No, yeah.
All right. I think the next topic.
Let's do it. I'm ready.
Being that you have more time on your hands, you have like a full traditional weekend, 2 days off. What is the ideal? What's a perfect Kristofer weekend? Like, what if you were to? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We're getting really in there, aren't we?
Yeah, let's hear it. I want to hear it.
Well, first, no, just kidding. So basically, as of right now, so I like.
No, not what's your normal weekend, but what's the perfect weekend for you?
Like literally perfect.
If you're gonna do something different than your norm, and have a
Well, I mean, perfect would be not having a weekend at all. Perfect would be not working for anybody else, always working for myself, doing whatever I want, whenever I want, 7 days a week. So never having a weekend. That would be perfect. But if we're talking having a 9 to 5, having to work 5 days a week, a perfect weekend would be making music, content, creating, playing some video games, hanging out with some friends, drinking. Like I drink a lot. Not promoting that or anything, but so yeah, just like kick back, enjoying myself. Because that's the thing, like I don't really, like making music isn't really work to me. I enjoy it. You know what I mean? Like every time I'm jumping around in my room, like having my own little dance party at my song. You know what I mean? Like I thoroughly enjoy making music.
So being that we're going to limit this to like a 1 weekend experience, what element of that process would you want to put on this weekend? Is it like, do you want to be working on your beats and doing that, or do you want to be collaborating with an artist in a studio and both be going at the mic? Or like, I don't really know what the weekend includes.
I think it'd be pretty tight. I haven't had a lot of opportunities to work with artists in the studio. I've worked with a couple, but nobody I like really look up to, or nobody that I really wanted to collaborate with. So I think working in a studio with like a collaborative project with somebody would be fucking phenomenal. Like somebody I really want to work with, somebody I really look up to. I think like just doing that for a couple hours would be like, if I had to pick something out of that process, that would probably be it. Like just being in the studio with another like-minded artist who is just trying to get noticed, trying to be big, and just wants to make a fucking banger. Like that would be, yeah, that's it. Just like you and me in the studio, let's work. Let's make something. Yeah, I would say that. Like I said, like I love hanging out with friends. Like I've always been like a partier. I've always loved partying, being out with friends in the bar scene. I'm a socialite, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, I know that's where we differ.
No, it's more like there's no scene to go out to.
Yeah, there's no scene anymore.
It's more of a bummer.
Yeah, that sucks. But yeah, it's just one of those. I don't know, man. My perfect weekend. Yeah, I just basically what I already do, just like maybe a little bit more focused instead of, like maybe, because my thing is I get very, when I make music, I get very distracted when it, like I'll start a song and I'll be like, ooh, this is fire. And I'll be like, okay, I should like take a break from this song and like, maybe work on something else or play a video game or something and come back to it. And then chances are I won't come back to it. Like that day, you know what I mean? Like I'll work on another song and then I'll work on that song instead of the previous one, or in one day I'll work on multiple songs, but I won't finish any songs. So I feel like maybe more focused on, if it was going to be me and a collaborator, it'd be like just working on one song, finishing one song, and that would be probably the perfect weekend. But yeah, dude, I just love hanging out with people, drinking, playing some video games. Like I actually recently got back into video games because for a while I cut them completely out because they were such a waste of my time. And I was like, oh, I'm procrastinating everything I do. I would be at home playing hours and hours and hours on video games, doing nothing else productive. But now I'm just like, well, I'm always productive. And I got to a point where I was stressing myself out because of how productive I was. So now I'm like, okay, I can do a healthy amount of video games that I enjoy, which gives me the chance to play with my friends and hang out with my friends and take my mind away from being productive and constantly working. And then when I come back to it, I'm a little bit more amped for it because I haven't been doing it the last 70 hours. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's not everybody else's perfect mindset, but that's mine. That's what I enjoy doing.
I wasn't maybe asking just about everybody else's.
Yeah, you're right. You're asking unguided. Maybe just in a bigger space. That would be nice. My perfect weekend would be everything I already do, just in a bigger space because my room is cramped.
Just with a budget.
And a budget. Yeah, that'd be nice.
All right, great.
Yeah.
I don't really have anything else unless you have anything that I didn't that I didn't bring up, but.
I mean, not off the top of my head.
All right,
I think
great.
we covered all the basics.
So with that being said, where can people keep up with Unguided? Where you kind of mentioned the platforms and whatnot, but if you want to reiterate.
So if you're interested, if anything in this podcast has made you interested in supporting me, you can follow me on any social media. I'm pretty much on everything at Unguided, UNGUYD3D. Mainly, I main Instagram and YouTube. You can find any of my music on over 175 different streaming platforms. Yes, I main Spotify. That's what I'm really focused on, which is weird. I shouldn't, but I do, just like everybody else. Spotify has, I don't know if anybody knows, Spotify has this really weird payout for artists. So like it would be worth my time and I would get a lot more money if I focused on like iTunes or Apple Music, but I don't use iPhones or Apple products, so that's probably why I don't main those, but I really should.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you can find my music on anything. I'm on a lot of things. My social media, Instagram and YouTube are my most poppin'. And I post a lot of content, behind the scenes content on my Instagram, like upcoming sneak peeks, and it's where you can find all my cover arts before things go live. You can find YouTube stuff coming out here real soon on my YouTube. Also, if you want to follow me on Patreon, I do have a Patreon where you can get early access to all my music before it releases. You can get exclusive content like unreleased music videos, never will ever be released music videos, full photo sets whenever I go out and do photo sets with people like Mr. Eddie. And because I don't release all the photos, but on Patreon you can find all the photos. Exclusive Patreon polls. It's just a really good way to support me financially if you think I'm worth that for as little as $1 a month, or you can do more if you wish. Yeah.
Beautifully said. Dang.
I've been practicing for my YouTube videos.
So. All right. So on this, I guess I didn't even mention it in the beginning of the podcast, but I did experiment with a different sound setup. So normally I hit the pause button here and kill the show, but now I gotta walk up over there to the camera.
This will be interesting.
So thanks again for being on.
Of course. Thanks for having me. It's been fun, man. It's been awesome. I enjoyed it. It's nice catching up with you.
All right, cool.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Monthly music, Unguided. Bye.